Good morning. Pardon me again for reading from my iPad. Well, so after the 7-book series Time Girl, this is a refreshing change of mood. Not. For this story, The Angel of Death chronicles the dramatic downfall of Sylvia Harris, a top neurosurgeon whose life unravels following a devastating chemical terrorist attack in London. After a car accident leaves her with a permanent limp and a suspended medical license, she is recruited by a secretive government official, Miss Price, to perform state-sanctioned lobotomies on convicted terrorists and violent inmates. Well, this controversial program, legalized under the new Safe Limitation Act, seeks to pacify prisoners through ultrasonic brain surgery rather than traditional incarceration. As the public cruelly labels her limping death because of her accident, Sylvia faces intense social isolation, the loss of her family's support, and even a violent home invasion by vengeful activists. The story culminates when Sylvia realizes that her closest confidant was actually a government plant monitoring her throughout the entire assignment, which naturally devastates her. Ultimately, the book explores themes of moral erosion, state surveillance, and the heavy personal cost of serving as an instrument of institutionalized retribution. So no time travel here then. The book was written in 2019, just before COVID. So maybe subconsciously I knew something was coming. Who knows? I hope you enjoy the AI voices. I think it's done a wonderful job as usual. If you would like to subscribe and ring that bell, that would be fantastic. And if you comment as usual, I will read and reply to everybody. See you in 2 days' time about a housewife who wins an awful lot of money and who doesn't want it. How do I come up with these plots? I don't know. Goodbye.
Imagine just for a second that you are standing on a balcony.
Mm-hmm.
It is high up, like really high up.
Right.
You are looking out over London, but the city does not look quite like the postcard version you were used to.
No, it definitely doesn't.
It is the very last day of August. The heat has been completely oppressive all day, just a physical weight pressing down on the streets.
Yeah, the source material does a great job setting that scene.
And now the sun is setting, but it is not a golden sunset. It is described in our source text as a deep, bruising, blood orange color.
It is an incredibly specific and atmospheric image to start with.
It really is.
It sets a tone immediately. You can almost feel the humidity and that strange, heavy stillness that comes right before a thunderstorm.
Exactly.
Or in this case, before something much, much worse.
Yeah. So you are standing there. You have a glass of expensive Nebbiolo wine in your hand. The air conditioning is humming that low artificial sound right behind you.
Because you're in Aqua Tower.
Right in Canary Wharf. It feels like the end of summer, sure, but the atmosphere suggests something heavier.
It feels like the end of an era.
You just don't know it yet.
That is the opening scene of the document we are doing a deep dive into today.
It is a narrative document simply titled The Angel of Death.
And if that title gives you a bit of a chill, well, honestly, it should.
Yeah.
Because what follows is a story that starts with that glass of wine on a balcony and ends with a fundamental rewriting of human rights of justice and really the very nature of the human soul.
Today's deep dive is going to be intense.
Very.
We are unpacking a source text that details a catastrophic chemical attack on London, the total collapse of a high-flying neurosurgeon's life, and a truly radical government solution to crime called the Safe Limitation Act.
It is a heavy one.
Yeah.
The themes here are massive. We are looking at the tension between justice and vengeance.
Right.
We are looking at how fragile our social order actually is. And perhaps most terrifyingly, we are looking at the ethics of using medical intervention not to cure, but to punish.
Or as the government in this text calls it, to correct.
Correct. Yeah, that word does a lot of heavy lifting in this text.
It really does. So our mission today is to walk you through this document, The Angel of Death. We're going to trace the path of the central figure, Sylvia Harris, and see how her personal tragedy intersects with a national nightmare.
It is a fascinating intersection.
Imagine a world where the government decides the only way to stop violence is to surgically remove it from the human brain.
That is exactly where we are going.
And it is not science fiction in the way we usually think of it.
No, not at all. It is grounded in bureaucratic reality, which makes it so much worse.
Right. It's not aliens.
It is legislation.
Exactly. But let's start where the text starts. Segment 1. The day London stopped.
The calm before the storm.
And we need to really understand who Sylvia Harris is before her world totally falls apart.
Right, we meet her in that apartment in Aqua Tower.
She is a consultant neurosurgeon.
On paper, she is living the dream. She has the career, the view, the wine.
She is there with her best friend Peggy, who is a senior nurse.
But the source makes it clear pretty quickly that there are cracks in the foundation.
Big cracks.
It doesn't paint her as a saint. It paints her as human and maybe a little bit broken already.
Sylvia is described as slightly neurotic.
There's a real restlessness to her.
We learn about her marriage, or rather the end of it. She is separated from her husband, Logan.
And the reason is fascinating.
It is. She was convinced he was going to be unfaithful.
Not that he was.
Right. Not that he was actually cheating, but that he would be eventually.
It is described almost as an irrational fear that became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
She pushed him away to protect herself from a betrayal that hadn't even happened yet.
And now Logan has moved on. He is happy.
And Sylvia is left with the view and the wine, but also the loneliness.
And she has a son, Alistair.
That relationship seems strained, to say the least.
Very strained. He lives with his dad. Sylvia feels him drifting away.
There is a sense that she is watching her family dissolve, and she is trying to fill that void with her career and her lifestyle.
And then there is Curtis. We have to talk about Curtis.
Oh, Curtis! He is her current boyfriend, a pharmaceutical rep.
He loves cricket and cars.
And Sylvia finds him, let's say, adequate.
Safe might be the word the text is driving at.
Safe, yeah.
She finds him somewhat boring, essentially a placeholder.
There is this distinct sense of ennui in her life. She wonders why she is with him at all.
It is a relationship built on exhaustion and convenience.
He is there. He's nice. He's uncomplicated. But there is no spark.
It is interesting how the text uses this mundane, slightly unhappy personal life to contrast sharply with what is brewing just a few miles away.
Right. While Sylvia is complaining about the noise from the penthouse above some Russian oligarch having a party and worrying about her lunch meeting, there is something truly dark happening in a terraced house in Maidstone.
This is where we shift perspectives to the UK Army unit.
The source describes a group of 10 students.
Young people. The oldest is no more than 24.
And they aren't living in a high-rise. They are in a squalid, sealed-up house.
The description of that house is so vivid, it is like a tomb.
They have sealed the coal hole. They've taped up the windows.
They are working in shifts under harsh fluorescent lights.
It smells of chemicals and sweat.
And they are manufacturing death, specifically sarin gas.
But it is not weapons-grade, military refined stuff.
No, it is impure liquid sarin. It is dirty.
What is their motivation, though? Why are these university students doing this?
Their motivation is fascinatingly warped. They believe the UK is at risk from foreign and domestic threats.
They have consumed a diet of fear and conspiracy.
They want to, quote, overturn democracy to save it.
It is that paradox of extremism, destroying the village to save it.
They believe that by breaking this system, they can rebuild it into something stronger, something pure.
And they aren't operating alone, are they?
No. They are guided by an anonymous voice, a handler.
They receive instructions via text message.
They don't know who this person is, but they follow the orders blindly.
It adds this layer of puppetry to the whole thing. Who is pulling the strings?
It is the banality of the weapon that gets me.
Right, they aren't using high-tech missiles or stolen nukes.
They're using garden sprayers and glass bottles stuffed into regular rucksacks.
That is the angel of death foreshadowing right there.
It is Bank Holiday Monday. The weather is hot, oppressively hot.
London is packed.
And two of these students, number 3, a female mathematics student, and number 7, a male head, out with their rucksacks.
The locations are extremely strategic. Heathrow Terminal 5 and the Central Line underground tunnels.
Maximum density, maximum casualties.
The goal isn't just to kill, it's to create panic.
It's to stop the heart of the city.
The source material gives a devastatingly detailed account of the attack at Heathrow.
We see it through the eyes of Michelle Edwards, a customer service agent.
She is trained to spot suspicious bags. She is doing her job.
She sees number 3 leave a rucksack at a Nero's coffee shop.
Michelle does everything right. That is the tragedy of it.
She follows protocol. She challenges the woman. She calls it in.
But it is already too late.
The description of number 3 in that moment is haunting. She is described as having a hollow stare, looking at the floor tiles, as if praying.
It is almost a religious trance. She has completely disengaged from humanity.
And then the gas hits.
It is not an explosion. That is the terrifying part.
It is biological. It is silent.
It starts with convulsions, foaming at the mouth. Mass panic.
The text describes people dropping like bodies piling up over luggage.
It is chaotic and primal.
And underground on the Central Line. It is even worse.
The gas has nowhere to go. It just fills the tunnels.
The toll is staggering. The document cites over 11,000 dead.
11,000. That is hard to even visualize.
That is a small town wiped off the map in an hour.
And another 30,000 injured or suffering long-term neurological damage.
It is the single most devastating attack in living memory for this fictional version of the UK.
Hospitals are completely overwhelmed. The morgues are full.
But there are 2 specific victims that change the political landscape entirely.
The Prime Minister's daughter, Gillian, and his grandson, Raoul.
They were at Heathrow, heading to New York. They died right in the terminal.
This is the pivot point.
Yes.
This isn't just a national tragedy anymore. It is a deeply personal catastrophe for the man in charge of the country.
Exactly. And as we move into segment 2, the fallout and the public rage, we see how that personal grief transmutes into policy.
It raises a huge question. Can a leader make rational decisions when they are grieving so violently?
The text strongly suggests the answer is no.
The immediate aftermath is chaos. Operation Boxfield is enacted.
The military takes over the streets. London is on lockdown.
Sylvia, our neurosurgeon, is thrown right into the front lines.
She's not doing delicate brain surgery now. She is in a full hazmat suit at London Bridge Hospital, triaging mass casualties.
The source describes the trauma so vividly. Sylvia seeing dead children.
The sheer volume of bodies requiring international pathologists just to identify them.
It breaks something in the national psyche.
It is not just sadness. It is a feeling of violation. The country feels unsafe in its own skin.
The mood in the country turns from fear to blinding rage.
The text mentions a rally in Trafalgar Square demanding the return of hanging.
And it turns into a riot. Operation Byward.
15 people dead, police horses killed, looting. The public wants blood.
They want vengeance. They don't want justice. They want retribution.
And the surviving terrorists, 8 are caught. 1 turns state's evidence.
But they are sentenced to life without parole.
And the public says not enough.
Exactly. The public perception, fueled by the media, of course, is that these mass murderers will live out their days in relative comfort, fed and housed by the taxpayer, while 11,000 people are in graves.
The Prime Minister, grieving his own daughter, feels this pressure intensely.
He is stuck between the rule of law and the mob.
And this is where the secret backdrop comes in.
The expert analysis in the text suggests that the government had a solution waiting in the wings.
A hybrid bill that they pushed through Parliament in just 15 days.
The Safe Limitation Act.
It sounds so bureaucratic, doesn't it? Safe. Limitation. It sounds like a zoning law.
But what it allows is unprecedented.
It fundamentally changes the relationship between the state and the citizen.
We are going to get into the gritty, horrifying details of that act in a moment.
But first we have to look at segment 3, the collapse of Sylvia Harris.
Because while the country is falling apart, Sylvia's personal life is disintegrating in parallel.
It is a tragic symmetry.
Yeah.
The nation loses its moral compass and Sylvia loses her identity.
It starts with a car accident.
It is such a mundane tragedy compared to the terror attack, but it destroys her.
She is driving. Curtis calls her.
She answers, putting the phone to her ear. No hands free. She is distracted.
And she hits 2 children.
God. That moment, the split second that changes everything.
One child suffers severe head and chest trauma.
Sylvia crashes the car, avoiding another. She breaks her femur, her thigh bone.
And the damage is permanent. Her leg heals, but it is 2 centimeters shorter.
She has a permanent limp. She needs a cane.
So the high-flying surgeon is now physically broken.
and professionally destroyed. The consequences are swift.
She is charged with dangerous driving. She pleads guilty.
But the professional cost is immense. She is suspended by the General Medical Council.
Basically, she is forced to resign to avoid being struck off completely.
So look at the fall. She goes from a high-powered neurosurgeon in Canary Wharf to a disgraced, unemployed woman with a limp, isolating herself in her flat, watching daytime TV.
She has lost her status, her career, and her physical integrity.
She is incredibly vulnerable. She has a massive mortgage she can't pay.
She is estranged from her son, Alistair, who, by the way, is hanging out with his dad's new girlfriend, a 22-year-old model named Hannah.
That has got to sting.
It adds to her sense of obsolescence. She feels replaced, like she is being erased from her own life.
And there is one more layer to her vulnerability. Her father, James.
He is in a nursing home with early-onset Alzheimer's.
The text spends time on this relationship, her visits to him, seeing this intelligent man, a former doctor himself, just fading away.
It is a crucial thematic link. Sylvia watches her father lose his memory, his personality, his self.
He becomes a shell. Keep that image in mind because it becomes horrific later on.
She is witnessing the death of the mind while the body survives.
She sees that emptiness up close.
So Sylvia is broke, disgraced, and desperate for purpose. Enter segment 4, the recruitment.
This is where the thriller aspect really kicks in. Sylvia is approached by a woman named Mrs. Price.
Starchy Miss Price.
Yes, described as looking like a 1950s schoolmistress.
She approaches Sylvia at a Chinese restaurant, the Peking Duck, while she is on a date with Curtis.
It is awkward, it is intrusive, but it gets Sylvia's attention because Mrs. Price clearly knows everything about her.
She knows about the mortgage, she knows about the accident, she knows Sylvia is desperate.
Precisely. Miss Price represents the prison commissioners.
She offers Sylvia a job, but it requires signing the Official Secrets Act before she even knows what the job is.
That is a massive red flag.
For a normal person, yes. For someone in Sylvia's position, it is a lifeline.
The interview takes place in Whitehall, a cold Victorian building.
And this is where Mrs. Price makes the pitch.
She lays out the crisis in the prison system. Overcrowding, violence, drugs, specifically spice, which is turning prisoners psychotic.
She argues the system is collapsing.
And then she drops the bombshell, the Safe Limitation Act.
It allows for the correction of dangerous prisoners using lobotomies.
And they need a neurosurgeon to operate the equipment.
Sylvia's reaction is exactly what you would expect. She is horrified.
She calls it barbaric. She says they want to turn people into zombies.
She actually holds on to her medical ethics for a moment here. She remembers the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
But Miss Price is ready for that. She knows Sylvia's desperate, but she also knows Sylvia needs a moral hook.
She can't just do it for money. Sylvia needs to feel justified.
So she brings in Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, the driver, the security.
Mr. Brown isn't just a heavy, he is a prop. He is a living argument.
The source tells us his story. His wife and young daughters were raped and murdered by associates of a prisoner.
During a riot, Mr. Brown's tongue was cut out.
That is incredibly dark.
It is. But notice how Miss Price uses him. She presents him as the argument for the Safe Limitation Act.
She says, in essence, look at Mr. Brown. If we had neutralized the monsters, his family would be alive and he would still have a tongue.
It presents the utilitarian argument. If you could neutralize the monsters, you save the innocent.
And coldly, she adds that you reduce prison costs by 49%.
It is the hard sell. Financial salvation for Sylvia, moral vengeance for society, and safety for the future.
And remember, Sylvia is feeling powerless. She is the woman who hurt a child.
She is the woman with the limp.
Suddenly, she's being offered a chance to be the angel of justice, to wield power again, to fix things.
It appeals to her surgeon's complex. Surgeons fix things. They cut out the rot.
Miss Price is framing this not as punishment, but as a public health procedure.
She is saying, help us cure violence.
So let's talk about what they actually want her to do. Segment 5, the technology and the cure.
This isn't the old ice pick in the eye socket lobotomy, is it?
No, and the text makes a point of distinguishing that. They know the stigma of the old prefrontal lobotomies from the mid-20th century.
This is the 21st century version. They use HIFU, high-intensity focused ultrasound.
How does it actually work?
It is non-invasive. No scalpels, no blood. The prisoner is sedated and placed in a scanner, which looks like a mobile MRI unit housed in the back of a white truck.
A white van, of course. The ultimate symbol of anonymity. You see a white van in London, you don't look twice.
It's the perfect camouflage.
The operator, Sylvia, uses 3D imaging to target specific connections in the prefrontal cortex.
These are the pathways that control aggression impulse and higher reasoning.
Then she presses a button.
The machine delivers precise beams of ultrasound that sever those connections.
The whole thing takes less than 10 seconds.
10 seconds to erase a personality.
To erase the capacity for violence, yes. But also, as Sylvia later realizes, the capacity for much else.
The text describes the outcome. The prisoner becomes benign, sanctified.
Mrs. Price uses that word, sanctified. It is creepy. It sounds religious.
It implies a religious purification. They are rendered incapable of violence, but also of higher consciousness.
They lose their spark. They lose the thing that makes them them.
And here's the kicker. Because they are no longer dangerous, they don't need high-security prisons.
Right, the housing solution. They're moved to low-security prefab facilities.
The text mentions one being built on Canvey Island. Mrs. Price describes him as living like residents in a college.
But Sylvia notes later that the buildings are cheap, prefab smelling of glue.
It is a warehouse for empty shells. It is not a college. It is a storage facility.
Why Canvey Island specifically?
Canvey Island is in the Thames estuary. It is below sea level, protected by walls.
It is isolated but close to London.
It is a liminal space between the city and the sea. It fits the state of the prisoners, between life and death.
Okay, so we move to segment 6, crossing the Rubicon.
Sylvia has to decide. She is torn.
She researches the horrors of old lobotomies, but she also watches live streams of prison riots.
She is looking for justification. She wants to be convinced.
And she has her own financial pressure, the mortgage, the loss of status.
And Mr. Brown's silent, tongueless presence is a constant reminder of the why.
Every time she looks in the rearview mirror, she sees his eyes.
She takes the job. She becomes Miss Smith.
And Mr. Brown becomes her shadow, driving her everywhere.
The first test is grim. Putty Court.
That is the code name for a morgue in East Barnet.
Sylvia practices the procedure on a fresh corpse, an elderly woman.
It is a moment of dissociation. She views the body as data. She presses the button.
It is technical. It is clean. It creates a distance between the act and the moral reality.
It is just pressing a button on a screen. It feels like a video game.
But then comes the real thing. The 10.
The survivors of the UK Army unit. The terrorists.
They are moved to Maidstone Prison.
The atmosphere is intense. There are huge riots outside the prison. Public anger is still boiling over.
But inside, Sylvia is in her white van. It is sterile.
This is the moment Sylvia crosses the line. The first subject is brought in. A young man.
He is sedated. Sylvia notes that he looks peaceful. He looks like a student. He doesn't look like a monster.
That must be jarring.
It is. She expects to see evil, but she sees a sleeping boy.
But she has her orders. She has Mr. Brown watching.
And she presses the button.
And then she does it again. And again. 10 times.
In one day, she effectively erases the minds of the people who attacked London.
Segment 7. The aftermath. You would think she would feel, I don't know, triumphant. Or maybe guilty.
She feels numb. That is the overwhelming emotion in the text.
The Home Secretary goes on TV and announces that the terrorists are no longer a threat.
Twitter explodes. The public is mixed, some cheering, some horrified.
But Sylvia, she goes home and sleeps in her clothes. She lies to everyone.
She tells Poggy she was at a conference. She tells Curtis she's doing locum work.
But the reality hits her when she visits her father again.
This is the connection I was waiting for.
She looks at James, her father, in the nursing home. He is unresponsive.
He is benign. He is safe.
And she realizes that she has just turned 10 healthy young people into versions of her father.
She calls them cabbages in her mind, even though Miss Price forbids that word.
It is the realization of what sanctified really means. It means empty.
It means death without the funeral. It means creating a living ghost.
And then comes the final twist. The epiphany, Miss Price calls her.
The schedule is changing. The program is expanding immediately.
It wasn't just about the terrorists, was it?
No. The terrorists were the Trojan horse. They were the excuse to get the public on board.
Now, the Safe Limitation Act is going to be applied to the 3-bar warning system.
Explain that system.
It's basically 3 strikes and you're out. If you are a difficult prisoner, maybe you start fights, maybe you deal drugs, maybe you're just non-compliant, you get 3 warnings.
And then zap.
You get erased.
It turns the prison system from a place of potential rehabilitation into a waste management facility.
You process the garbage humans into safe humans.
Ms. Price talks about processing hundreds, maybe thousands.
Sylvia realizes she is now part of a machine. She is the operator of an industrial-scale lobotomy factory.
And that is where the narrative leaves us hanging, with Sylvia realizing the trap she has walked into.
It is terrifying. So let's unpack the layers here, because this isn't just a story about a bad law.
It is about how a person like Sylvia, educated a healer, gets to the point where she pushes that button.
Absolutely. Let's look at the psychology of Sylvia Harris.
The text gives us a lot of detail about her mindset. She is proud. She is a surgeon. She defines herself by her ability to fix people.
And then she breaks people. First, the child in the car accident, then the terrorists.
The car accident is the catalyst. It strips her of her agency. It strips her of her goodness.
She becomes a criminal in the eyes of the law, even if it was an accident. She feels the shame of the doc.
Do you think that makes her more susceptible to Mrs. Price's pitch?
100%. Mrs. Price offers her a way to be good again, to be useful.
To be on the side of the law rather than a defendant?
It is a redemption arc, but a twisted one. It's a way to pay her debts, literally and metaphorically.
She feels she owes society something for the child she hurt.
And let's talk about Mr. Brown again. The text says he doesn't speak. Obviously, he can't, but his presence is huge.
He represents the victim. Every time Sylvia has a doubt, every time she thinks about the ethics, she looks at Mr. Brown.
She remembers his wife and daughters. She remembers his tongue.
He is the living proof that evil exists and needs to be stopped.
It is a powerful manipulation tactic by Miss Price.
Miss Price is a fascinating character. She is the banality of evil personified.
She is not cackling. She is drinking tea. She is organizing schedules. She talks about efficiency and cost savings.
She treats lobotomies like filing tax returns.
Exactly. And that is how atrocities happen, not with a bang, but with a memo.
She reframes the horror as a bureaucratic necessity. The system is collapsing, she says. We need to save 49%.
That statistic is so cold.
But effective. In a time of national crisis, efficiency becomes a moral virtue.
When people are scared, they love efficiency. They love a solution that just solves the problem no matter how brutal.
Let's pivot to the UK Army unit, the terrorists. The text describes them as students.
It is interesting, isn't it? They aren't foreign invaders. They are homegrown.
They believe they are saving democracy.
By releasing sarin gas on the tube.
It is the paradox of radicalism. They have convinced themselves that the current system is so rotten that only total destruction can save it.
But their youth is important. When Sylvia sees the first one in the van, she notes how young he looks. He looks peaceful.
That moment in the van segment 6 is haunting.
She is looking at this young guy unconscious, and she knows that in 10 seconds, he won't be that person anymore.
It brings up the central ethical question of the text. Is a person their brain?
If you remove the capacity for violence, do you remove the person?
The text seems to answer that with a resounding yes.
When she visits her father, she sees the result, a body without a spark.
And that is the tragedy. Sylvia loves her father, but she mourns him because he is gone, even though he is sitting right there.
Now she is inflicting that same state on others as a punishment.
She is mass-producing her own personal tragedy.
Do you think the public in the story realizes what is actually happening?
The text mentions that the public wanted hanging. They wanted suffering.
In a way, the Safe Limitation Act might be disappointing to some of the vengeful public.
Wait, how so?
Because the prisoners aren't suffering. They are benign. They are floating in a void.
They are in those prefab buildings on Canvey Island, looking at the river, feeling nothing.
The public wanted screams. They got silence.
That is a chilling thought. The punishment is erasure, not pain.
But for the government, it is better than hanging. It is humane. It is safe.
It solves the problem of recidivism. A lobotomized person doesn't reoffend. They don't do anything.
It is the ultimate preventative measure.
Yeah.
Like Minority Report, but with ultrasound.
And that leads us to the slippery slope, the twist in segment 7.
The expansion.
Miss Price reveals that the terrorists were just the start. The 3-bar warning system.
If you are a difficult prisoner, maybe you start fights, maybe you deal drugs, you get 3 strikes, and then zap.
You get erased.
It turns the prison system from a place of potential rehabilitation into a waste management facility. You process the garbage humans into safe humans.
And Sylvia is the one pressing the button.
She is the technician of the soul, and she is trapped.
She has signed the Official Secrets Act. She has taken the money. She has done the deed.
I want to go back to the imagery of the Angel of Death, the title of the source material.
It is ambiguous, isn't it?
At first I thought it was the sarin gas, the mist that killed 11,000 people.
That is one interpretation, the angel that visited London.
But then I thought about Sylvia.
Sylvia in her white coat, or rather, her sensible suit. sitting in the white van.
She brings peace. She brings the end of violence.
She is the angel of death. But she doesn't kill the body. She kills the self.
And that white van, the text describes it looking like an MRI truck, something that should be for healing.
It is the ultimate camouflage.
The text also draws a parallel to the Blitz, the 1941 comparisons, the resilience of London.
But this time, the threat comes from within, and the solution destroys the very values the country claims to uphold.
It is interesting how the personal relationships mirror the political ones. Sylvia and Alistair.
Her son.
She feels she is losing him to Hannah the young model. She feels replaced.
In a way, she's being erased from her son's life.
Just as she is erasing these men from society. And look at Logan, her ex. He has moved on. He is happy.
Sylvia is stuck. She is physically damaged, the limp, and emotionally stuck.
The job gives her a way to move forward, but it is a movement into darkness.
And Peggy, her best friend.
The voice of normalcy. Peggy represents the life Sylvia left behind.
The gossiping, the wine, the complaining about boyfriends. Sylvia has to lie to her.
That line creates a wall. Sylvia is isolated.
Just like the prisoners in the high-security wing she visits.
She is in a prison of her own making. A prison of secrets.
I want to talk about the secret backdrop mentioned in segment 2. The idea that this act was waiting in the wings.
The hybrid bill. Passed in 15 days.
The source material suggests this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. The government had this technology. They had the plan. They just needed the crisis.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The terror attack provided the political capital to do the unthinkable.
The public was so blinded by rage and grief, represented by the Prime Minister's loss of his daughter, that they accepted the unacceptable.
It is a warning, isn't it, about how quickly norms can shift when people are afraid.
Fear is the ultimate lubricant for authoritarianism.
And notice the language used. Safe Limitation Act. Who could argue with safety? Who could argue with limiting danger?
It is Orwellian.
It is.
Yeah.
And the 3-bar warning system sounds so administrative, like a school detention policy.
But the outcome is lobotomy.
Let's talk about the cure again. The text mentions they are moved to Canvey Island. Why there?
Canvey Island is in the Thames estuary. It is below sea level, protected by walls.
It is isolated but close to London. It is a liminal space between the city and the sea.
It fits the state of the prisoners, between life and death.
And the buildings are prefab.
Impermanent, cheap. It shows what the government really thinks of these people.
Even sanctified, they aren't worth a brick building. They're worth plastic and glue.
Sylvia notices the smell of glue.
Sensory details like the ground the horror. It is not a Gothic dungeon.
It is a cheap, smelly, portable cabin. That is where the soulless live.
So Sylvia has done the 10 terrorists. She is exhausted. She is numb.
She gets the call that it is expanding. What do you think happens to her next?
The text ends there, but we can speculate based on the trajectory.
She is trapped. If she quits, she faces the Official Secrets Act. She probably goes to prison herself.
And Mr. Brown knows where she lives.
Exactly. Mr. Brown is her protector, but he is also her jailer. He knows everything.
And remember, she has a mortgage. She has no other career prospects.
She is the limping surgeon who hit a child. She needs this job.
So she keeps pressing the button.
I think she does. She rationalizes it. She tells herself she is making the prisons safer.
She tells herself she is stopping the spice epidemic. She focuses on the Mr. Browns of the world, not the cabbages she creates.
It is the banality of evil again. You just keep going to work.
Until one day, maybe she looks in the mirror and sees Miss Price looking back.
That is a terrifying thought.
It is. The transformation of Sylvia is the real tragedy here.
The 11,000 dead in the attack is a statistic. Sylvia's corruption is a story.
And the little boy she hit. We never find out if he recovers fully.
He is another ghost haunting her, just like the girl she avoided hitting, which caused the crash.
She thinks about that irony. She wrecked her life to save a girl who ran into the road.
If she hadn't swerved?
She might still be a neurosurgeon. She might never have met Mrs. Price.
Fate.
Or chaos. The text suggests that the line between a normal life and a nightmare is razor thin.
One phone call, one distracted moment, one bag left in a coffee shop.
Let's circle back to you, the listener. Why does this story matter, aside from being a gripping narrative?
It matters because it asks us to define justice. Is justice about punishment? Is it about safety? Or is it about restoration?
The Safe Limitation Act offers safety, but it destroys the possibility of restoration.
And it asks what we would trade for that safety.
Would you trade the civil liberties of a few thousand bad people to ensure your train doesn't get gassed?
Most people in the heat of the moment might say yes.
That is what the Prime Minister banked on. That is what Miss Price banked on.
But the cost is our humanity.
Precisely. If we treat people as broken machines that need to be switched off, we become machines ourselves.
Like Sylvia in the van, a machine operator.
A part of the mechanism.
I want to touch on one detail from the source, the spice drug. Miss Price uses it as a major selling point.
Spice or synthetic cannabinoids. It is a real plague in prisons. It causes psychosis violence.
Mrs. Price argues that the prison system is failing because of it.
She uses a real problem to sell a final solution.
It is the classic technique. Identify a genuine crisis violence drugs overcrowding and offer an extreme solution as the only solution.
There is no alternative.
Sylvia buys it because she knows the medical reality of brain damage. She knows drugs don't always work. Surgery is definitive.
It is clean.
To a surgeon, a clean cut is appealing. It fixes the mess.
But the mess is the human soul.
And you can't fix that with ultrasound. You can only amputate it.
The text mentions the Prime Minister's grief. He loses his daughter and grandson.
It is a humanizing element for the antagonist, if we view the government as the antagonist.
He isn't doing this out of pure malice. He is doing it out of pain.
Grief is the price we pay for love. The Queen says that in the text.
A famous quote. But here, the price of grief is the Safe Limitation Act. The price is paid by the prisoners.
And by Sylvia.
And by Sylvia. She pays with her conscience.
The source material is very specific about the timeline. Late August heat, the blood orange sun, then the cold of winter when the operations start.
It tracks the chilling of the world. The heat of passion and anger turns into the cold, calculated execution of policy.
And Sylvia's wardrobe changes too. She goes from summer dresses to heavy coats, seeking anonymity.
She wants to disappear. She wears dark glasses. She hides.
But she can't hide from herself.
No. And she can't hide from the text messages on her new government phone. Good work. See you tomorrow at 4 p.m.
It is so relentless.
The bureaucracy of death never sleeps.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Angel of Death, we are left with a picture of a society that has surgically removed its own capacity for mercy.
And a woman who has become the instrument of that removal.
It is a harrowing story. It makes you look at the news differently. When you hear politicians talk about tough on crime or extraordinary measure.
You have to ask, what is the cost? And who is pressing the button?
And are we, the public, the ones demanding that the button be pressed?
That is the uncomfortable question. The rioters in Trafalgar Square wanted hanging. They got this instead. Are they happy?
Maybe they are, until it is their brother or their son who gets a 3-bar warning.
And that is the trap. It always starts with them, the terrorists, but it eventually comes for us, the difficult ones.
The Safe Limitation Act. A terrifying concept.
Indeed.
Okay, we are going to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We have talked about Sylvia, about the terrorists, about the government, but I want you to think about the technology.
The white van.
The white van. It brings peace, it brings safety, but it does it by destroying the self.
So here's the provocation.
If you could end violent crime tomorrow, guaranteed by removing a tiny piece of the brain of every violent criminal, would you push that button?
Knowing what you know now about the cabbages.
Knowing that they would be safe, benign, and empty, would you do it?
Or is the risk of freedom worth the cost of violence?
That is the question the Angel of Death leaves us with, and it is not an easy one to answer.
Not easy at all.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It has been a heavy one, but an important one.
Stay curious and stay critical.
See you next time.